and welcome to VOP this morning. Thank you for joining us, all right, on the program today. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. On the show today, we'll head into the political camp of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has already begun consultations about by NCC, that's the Broadcast Organization of Nigeria. They're rejecting a planned auction of one of the, broadcast spectrum equipment by the National Communication Commission. Okay, you can see that story. It's on the front page of the Daily Trust, and I think it's on page 11. You can see the details of that story on page 11. We also have another sub-headline there. Sudan, FG spends 560 million naira to evacuate Nigerians by road, and they're expecting $1.2 million still concerning the evacuation of the students currently trapped in Sudan. Do you think that's too much money?
From 150 million naira to
560 million naira.
Now, that is what I said earlier. When you don't have records, a lot of things you don't prepare for will eventually come up.
Okay.
How many Nigerians do we have in Sudan? If you go to Sudan now, or go to Nigeria embassy in Sudan, ask how many Nigerians are here. I think they should be able to say we have.
Welcome back. Now, President-elect Bola Tinubu on Tuesday met with Betara, a member of the House of Representatives from Borno. The meeting was held at the residence of the President-elect in Abuja. Although the details of the discussion has not been made public, the meeting is not unrelated to the speakership bid of the All Progressives Congress APC lawmaker Ahmed Lawan, Senate President Kayode Fayemi, former governor of Ekiti, and Dapo Abiodun, governor of Ogun, were among those present at Tinubu's residence at the time the meeting took place. Betara, who represents BU Kaukwaya Kusar Shani Bayo Federal Constituency of Borno, chairs the Appropriation Committee of the House of Representatives. He is one of the top contenders seeking to succeed Femi Gbajabiamila as Speaker. Already, some rep-select and former lawmakers declared support for the speakership bid of the lawmaker. In the studio, Nelson Ekujumi, he's a political commentator and, of course, a social affairs analyst. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm fine. Nelson, good morning to our viewers.
There's a tightrope, all right? There's a race to the 10th Senate, to be the leader of the 10th Senate, that is. And it happens to be that in one of the responses Bola Tinubu gave to the press when he was being interviewed while he arrived 2 days ago, he said that he needed to consult. And one of the strong things to do too was to meet with the National Working Committee, whereby they get to see how they can go about getting a speakership bid, someone who would represent the 10th Senate, and they will not have what was repeated in 2015. The question now we're asking is, there've been call for the zoning process to either come from the southeast or from the south rather than the north or north central. But the first thing, or the first contender he met with is Betara, and Betara is from basically a major aspect of the north. What's your take on that?
Well, thank you very much. The fact of the matter is that democracy is about negotiations, discussions, debates and what have you. It's about intellectual, activity.
Okay.
So if somebody who is aspiring for a position decides to go to places to talk to people that will aid his ambition, I'm home and dry with it. That's the right thing to do. It's about lobbying people, talking to people that look, I'm the best person for this job. But don't also forget that the speakership of the House of Representatives will not be determined by just one man or one contact. The party has to sit down and look at the various factors that has helped the party come up tops at the elections. And so many other factors will be taken into consideration. Then the party will decide based on the consensus arrangement of the major stakeholders on the party. Because don't forget, the party that normally produces the speakership and the Senate president is usually the party with the majority in the House, until we had a change in 2015. So if the man from Borno, in his wisdom, because the president-elect has arrived in the country and he is now receiving people from left, center, and middle, I don't see anything wrong in that. It's part of what democracy is all about. That is why we tell people democracy is about you lobbying people, you familiarizing yourself, with those that matters, that will help your ambition. So I don't have any problem with what he has done.
Now, interestingly, critics have said that it will not be a good thing this time around, whereby you have the leadership of the 10th Senate having to be from the north and also having to be from a particular religious background. And others are saying, okay, yes, this is one of the top jobs, in as much as we have a lot of contenders jostling for that seat, but it should be about competence and experience, and that should be the basis, or should form the basis of the plum job. But if we look at the 1999 Constitution as amended, which provides for a bicameral legislature, all right, the legislative powers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be vested in a National Assembly for the Federation, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Now, in the Senate Standing Order 3, Rule 2 of the Senate Standing Orders 2022 as amended, all right, it said it provides that the nomination of presiding officers and appointments of principal officers and other officers of the Senate shall be by the ranking of senators. So senators returning based on the number of times re-elected, senators who have been members of the House of Representatives, senators elected as senators for the first time. So there's a process. So it's either experience a number of years or tenure spent in the House that will determine who will be qualified to become a Senate president. So what if from other regions, right, we do not have those who have stayed for that number of years or for that number of tenure in terms of experience and being long in the House? What if it's coming from a particular region, and that region is what a lot of people are disposing and saying, no, it shouldn't be like that?
Well, first and foremost, I think the issue about religion has been thoroughly trashed in the last election. Whoever still wants to hang on to that, for me as a Nigerian, I wish him or her good luck.
Okay.
Then, with regards to the rules of the House, the rules of the House is not cast in gold.
Okay.
The major thing about the rules of the House is that it must not in any way violate the provisions of the Constitution. That whoever will be a member, whoever will be the presiding officer or principal officers of the House must be an elected member. So if that provision has been fulfilled, whatever other rules guiding the conduct of the House, so long as it does not conflict with the Constitution, it goes.
The Senate Standing Order.
Yes, it's the standing order of the Senate. It does not mean that order cannot be amended or cannot be waived. Don't forget, in 2015, we had a deputy Senate president who did not belong to the ruling party. That was against the rules of the House. The rules of the House is that the party with majority will produce the president and the deputy Senate president, as well as the speaker and the deputy speaker. What is usually reserved for the opposition or the party that is not in majority is the minority leader, or another position. So if that is why I'm saying the rules of the House, as much as we understand, we know it is not cast in gold. We know there are several factors that will come to play when it comes to, electing the leadership of the National Assembly. Don't forget, the party as a body will take a stance. And in taking that stance, the party itself will now go around, nominate or delegate its members in the House to go and lobby other members. Even you should not be surprised if on the day of electing the principal officers, that members of the opposition parties vote for candidates other than their own party. So it is all part of democracy. It is about lobbying. It's about negotiation. Okay. It's about discussion. So for me, whether you are a one-time senator or you are a 10-time senator, so long as you are an elected member, you should know how to play the game, in the House. That the legislature as a body is a body that is conversant with lobbying, that people have to be talked to, people have to be convinced with facts, to see them.
Okay, so for now, the All Progressives Congress has about 54 seats in the House. The People's Democratic has, 27. The Labour Party has 6. The New Nigeria People's Party has 2 seats, and the SDP has 2 seats as well, including YPP 1 and the All Progressives Grand Alliance having 1. Now, if you also look at the fact that the Southeast has been at the forefront of the campaign of the Senate presidency, you recall that Senator Orji Uzor Kalu went to lobby, with President Muhammadu Buhari under the guise that it would be interesting for him not to completely step out of politics, but be the Board of Trustees chairman of the All Progressives Congress to steer the party in the right direction, as much as President Muhammadu Buhari has said, hey, I don't want to be part of that anymore. I want to go to Dauda and retire. Now, we now have a situation where Orji Uzor Kalu, Senator David Umahi, they are insisting that the position must be zoned to the region. Osita Isunaso returns to the Senate and is older or will be the longest serving senator from the Southeast and South-South in the chamber. These are strong contenders for the seat. Now, for other critics, Orji Uzor Kalu has a past, or would I say a record that seems to be faulty, and a lot of persons are saying we don't want to resonate with that. But what about David Umahi, Osita Isunaso?
Well, I don't think it is appropriate and civilized for any politician or any region of the country to come out, and say it must. That language is very, very inappropriate.
Okay.
It should be you lobbying and convincing others why they should, cast their lot with you. We have mentioned the 3 frontrunners from the Southeast. And don't forget, we also have people from the South-South. We have a Senator Godswill Akpabio too, yeah. We also have those who are clamoring that the North-East, because of what the North-East,
That's ABC Pauchi, Senator Abdul Aziz.
Yes, because of what how the party fortune, was very good from the Northeast in terms of the votes they garnered. And like I always say, as an individual, whoever does not bring anything to the table does not deserve, a part of the meal. Even the Bible says the hand that does not work should not eat. So if you are clamoring that you deserve, to be given A, B, C, the question should be, when we were preparing the meal, what was your contribution? Oh, you want other people to go and labor and slave to prepare the meal, and you sit down, you want to, reap the same benefit as them. No, I don't agree with that. So any person, jostling for that position now, it is for them, or where they come from, to go and start lobbying other, people from other regions of the country, because the National Assembly is not people by, representatives from only a part of the country. We have a country of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. So if you believe you have done well with regards to your contributions to the party, it is for you to go around showing your scorecard, showing your potentials, what you can offer, and, let the people decide.
All right. Because Betara was the first person he was in a closed door meet for the most part of yesterday afternoon. Is he the anointed candidate? Is there a similar perception that could be his preference?
Well, I don't know, because you all know very well that I don't speak for Bola Tinubu. My name is Nelson Ekudi. So whether it's the anointed candidate or not.
Why with him first? Why with Betara first? That's the question.
There's always a first person to get to somewhere. You are in an office here today. There was a first person to get to the office this morning.
Business.
So I think it's good that people who are jostling for those positions are going around, they are talking to people. I think that should be the take home for a lot of us. That look, democracy is about talking to people, seeking favorable relationship, and not insults, and not insisting that it is your right, or playing up the ethnic and religious cards.
But let me ask you, do you think it will be proper, like considering the, would I say, fragile states, all right, in terms of politics, the political emotion already in the country, it's quite fragile. We have a lot of persons who are discontent with the just concluded elections, persons who feel that their mandates were stolen, persons who feel that INEC, committed infractions and they did not do what they promised they would do based on what is in the electoral acts. So right now the polity is tensed. Do you think it will be proper though for the Senate president and the speakership to be just like how the APC's presidential and vice presidential ticket ran? Muslim, whether we like it or not, this has always been the precipice or the bane of our politics, whereby it's either you have a Christian president and you have a Muslim vice, or a Muslim president and a Christian vice. It's always been like this. Was one of the first times that we're having a president who is a Muslim and also having a vice who is a Muslim. This time around, what was considered was the fact that their region is different. So do you think it will be proper if the speakership and the Senate president is regionalized in the north as well?
Well, looking at the nature of our country today, I don't think the party, I don't think the president of the Senate and the speaker of the Senate will come from the same region. If you look at the last dispensation, it had not been so. You talked about people who claim their mandate has been stolen. If you claim your mandate has been stolen, you must prove with facts and not word of mouth.
They're already in court.
Yes. So they should stop disturbing
they have facts.
Yes, let them go and avail the courts.
Okay.
So I get sick and tired when people try to behave as if this is the first time we're having elections and we're having people who are disgruntled. We have had people who have been disgruntled with the outcome of elections since time immemorial. Somebody said that INEC did not fulfill its own part of the bargain. Go and read the Electoral Act. INEC complied with the provisions. Somebody who is claiming that the results were not uploaded on the IREV. Ask him. Hold on. I'm the guest here. Yeah. I'm the one to.
I'm holding on now.
Yes.
Continue.
At the polling units, every party has an agent according to law. If you don't send an agent to the polling unit, that's your cup of tea. The polling unit agent had a copy of the result. Go and ask those parties that are claiming that they have been, rigged, that the results with them, does it tally with what was uploaded on the IREV? I belong to a civil society organization. I coordinated it. We deployed over 150 observers, and we have had interactions with other observers from other groups. And they have told us that all the results they have, documentarily, because when you go to the tribunal, you are not going to present the IREV. The IREV is not in your custody.
But let's not digress. The reason why these infractions are stated was on November 2022, the INEC chair said that results will be uploaded. In fact, he doused any speculation or doubt concerning the functionality of the IREV portal and what it intends to do, which is to create a sense of transparency where Nigerians can monitor how the election results are coming up. Wait, hold on. Which transparency do you want again?
I was an observer.
Okay.
I was at the polling station. There were other observers. There were party agents. There were voters. There were security agents. We conducted an election. Every one of those are ascribed to have a copy of the result by law, got it. And who were those? The presiding officer was to sign. The party agents were to countersign. Then copies of the results were given to the party agents.
Okay.
From polling unit level to ward level to local government level to state levels. So what transparency can be more than that? So the transparency. If it does not come on the area, it means it has been compromised.
A lot of people will not agree from your perspective.
They shouldn't.
They will not agree. They will not settle with you on that.
This is a discussion.
Not the topic of
yes, I agree. So what I'm saying is that I don't think with the way we are today, because of the interest of justice and like it has been, it will be almost impossible for the Senate President and the Speaker of the House to come from the same region. Don't forget, in the last this dispensation that is winding down, the Senate President is from the Northeast, while the Speaker of the House of Representatives is from the Southwest. Just like the President is from the Northwest, while the Vice President is from the Southwest. So there's that balancing. Whether you are now looking at religion, I won't know. Because I, for one, if I have my way, I want religion to be cancelled. Okay. Because the level of... You just saw what happened in Kenya. Over 95 corpses. Somebody who told people to go and starve to death to meet Jesus. Meanwhile, the man who is telling them to go and starve, he is alive. He's not starving.
Okay,
yes, I watched it. A lot of the bodies were children.
Let's look at this. Tinubu's support group, all right, has asked the All Progressives Congress to nominate Betara. That's the Borno Rep as Speaker. Now, including other, former House of Representative members. What do you think? Did you think this will influence whatever processing is already on ground, towards from the president-elect, and considering whom can be strongly considered to become the Senate president?
There are factors that the party has already put in place. Okay. And as we speak, I'm sure that consultations are ongoing in that regard. Right. So groups, persons speaking for aspirants could also help, raise their status, because a lot of times I'm a social scientist, and one thing I'm conscious of is that the voice of the people is the voice of God. It is what we say that people in government listen to, people in positions of authority. Anybody telling you otherwise is an Alice in Wonderland. Anybody believing that, they will not listen, no, you are making a mistake. Because the people we are talking to are human beings like you and I. They have families, they have friends, they have relations, they have colleagues, they have classmates. So groups coming up with positions supporting, aspirants, that is the beauty of democracy now. Okay. If you, when I was going to get married, my friends went with me on the wedding day. They prostrated for my father-in-law. You can imagine if I was the only one that day, they now say, where are his friends? And I look back and there's nobody. That diminishes my personality. Right. So the same thing is happening. So it shows that some persons buy into the candidature of that candidate, of that aspirant. So it is the beauty of them. Let anybody who believes he has a candidate or an aspirant that he wants to support, let him or her explore the space and start, singing the praise of his candidate. The other three
contenders for Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, who is representing Akwa Ibom Northwest, Orji Kalu, Abia North, and Senator Osita Izunaso, Mukta Betara too. Do you think that the president-elect could also have a closed-door meeting with his other contenders? Because that was quite a long meeting yesterday. They've not addressed the press. We do not know exactly what the meeting turned out to be, but these has raised speculations, which has set some tongues wagging to say there is a possibility, like an actual possibility of possibly President-elect Chilton or showing some form of support to Betara.
The president-elect is a human being. It is natural for him to tilt towards one person and not to the other, And yesterday, those that were claimed to have been at the meeting, I'm not sure they are the ones who are going to decide with the level of support for Betara, or who are going to anoint him. So speculations can continue so long as, people are meeting one another. In fact, we've had situations where somebody's wife was called that they saw the husband, in an hotel with a woman, and the husband was right with the wife in the sitting room, and the wife was like, the same man with me you have seen him somewhere else. So speculations is part of life, rumors, But the most important thing is we must focus on, the goal. What are we doing? So if Betara, in his wisdom, has deemed it fit that, this ambition, let me go and meet the president-elect. Oh, well and good. You recollect the other time Senator Orji Uzor went to President Muhammadu Buhari, and people were saying, why should he go to President Muhammadu Buhari and not the president-elect? And I said, until May 29, 2023, President Muhammadu Buhari still remains the leader of the party, the number one person of the party. So Betara holding meetings with people, I don't see why that should be.
Is it proper for the legislative to be consulting with the executive?
Oh, absolutely, because the members of the executive, the executive and legislature are intertwined. They exert influence on one another. If as a legislature you have projects, you have demands from your constituency, there's nothing evil in you approaching the executive that, look, this is what my people are. That's why you are there to represent them. And as an executive, if there are policies you want to put in place and you need legislative backing, would it be a crime for you to go and lobby the legislators that, look, we want you to pass this law. Look at the benefit of this law to the majority of our people. So for me, if the executive and legislature are working intertwined for the benefit of the mass majority of our people, so be it.
Okay, but the party intends to adopt a consensus for this particular two position, and the idea is to avoid a rancorous and a situation where there is rife. And if we're going to have a consensus, let's see, all of you that have put a hat in the ring, let's see how you're going to gain the support, and let's see who comes in first. But again, the question is coming back to the fact that we have had clamors, ever since the elections got concluded, that if we need to balance things out, the correction should be made with the Senate President position and the Speakership position, which will be balancing in terms of whether competence, whether experience, whether tribe, whether religion, but that it should be zoned just like it has always been. The zoning formula should play a major role in who is placed as the Senate President and, of course, Speaker.
Well, you and I know very well that the people we are talking about, they don't live in the moon. They are Nigerians and they are conversant with the reality of the Nigerian situation. And one is optimistic that the right thing will be done, because the party that will produce the Senate President and the Speakership of the House of Representatives is a party made up of Nigerians from across the geopolitical zone. Right. So it's not a party of only one particular zone or one particular religion. So we know very well that the jostling, that's the beauty of democracy. You see all these activities when it comes to vying for position. So long as the party itself, in its wisdom, would take a lot of factors into consideration in arriving at a decision, and just let us just hope for the best.
All right. Interestingly, these are independent arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And the idea is that you don't necessarily have to have the legislative arm being complete total support of you, because it's a check and balances thing, okay? So must you have the legislative arm tilt towards you? Must you have your own people be more in the legislative arm? Are you not meant to have people who will question whatever initiatives you put in place that does not represent the interests of the people who will criticize whatever motive or motion that you put out there that does not represent the interests of the people? So the question is, if we say it's a democratic process, if we say these arms are independent of each other, must it be that, how do we prevent a situation where we have a legislative arm of government that seems to be a rubber stamp of the executive?
I'm yet to see the legislature that is the rubber stamp of the executive.
You sure? This particular Senate, this of President Muhammadu Buhari, second term, 2019, It doesn't seem so?
Absolutely not. We have seen the president always been at loggerheads with the legislature when it comes to budget matters. Okay. So when people, we should learn to develop our minds that people only see you as being at productive when you're at loggerheads. When they see a wife and the husband tapping each other on the back, putting their hands around their neck. Oh, you know how people will say, they'll say the wife has given him, in my own local parlance, they'll say, oh, tifunle foje. That the woman has turned the man into, a jellyfish. Just because they see him at peace with the wife. But the moment they see the wife and the husband, at war, resorting to violence, it's like that is what, pleases a person. So for me, that is very, very barbaric.
You think?
That absolutely. When I went, to say I want to get married to a woman, it is because I wanted her to be my partner in progress, my partner in prosperity, my partner in good. It will not be my partner in fit curves, my partner in courses.
But there are other critics who believe that the first year of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 was quite an interesting one, because you had Dogara, you had Saraki always put whatever it is that comes from the executive, always put it in check. It actually made the National Assembly quite an interesting one. People always looked forward to conversations that would take place in the House, because most of the time Saraki and Dogara did not need to agree with whatever proposition that comes from the executive. Don't you think it would be quite interesting to have that play around this time?
I don't want, as a Nigerian, I don't want that type of legislature. A legislature that takes its own interest far and above national interest. You recollect, the Minister for Works came out publicly. The budget for the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and so many other roads that would have been fixed were truncated by that National Assembly. So it is that type of house, a house that is always at war, that will never see anything good in what is about the interest of the Nigerians. No, I don't want that. I want a house that because when you are talking, you are the type of my take home from what you are saying is that those that I, Nelson Ekudumi, and you, Esther, went to the polls to elect as members of the Senate and the House of Representatives are dummies. I didn't vote for a dummy. I went there to vote for a man or a woman that I knew his onions. A man or a woman that I know that when anything comes to him or her, he will question it. So for you to be even ascribing the legislature as being a rubber stamp is even an insult to the collective sensibilities of those of us who went to the polls to elect, these representatives. They represent me. And you know very well why you invited us, why we went to the polls is that Nigerians are not, dullards. Nigerians are not, illiterate. Nigerians are not illiterate. Why we have, various strata in the society. So for anybody to assume that the only way we want to know a legislature is doing well is when the legislature is at loggerheads with the executive. Absolutely not. I disagree. Because the three arms of government are supposed to complement one another. The executive is to bring, bills to the legislature, or the legislature generate bills on its own. And those bills must pass through processes.
Yes.
And those processes must be very thorough and diligent. And if the legislature has done that, I don't see anything wrong, in them.
But remember I asked you a question. I said the idea is that these arms ought to be independent. What brought about the rubber stamp question is this. It feels or it seems that, okay, the cry is, we don't want to repeat on what transpired in 2015, right? Whereby, like you rightly said, we had a rancorous legislature. But if it has to do with checks and balance, of course, these disagreements will come. If the executive passes a proposal or a list of nominations for candidates or persons, and they disagree with it, they rightly put it out to the executive and say, no, we disagree with it. But literally, when you want more persons in the House that are from your party, that represents you, it means that you can bring up proposals, you can bring up any order that is necessary whereby you want the House to pass it, and it goes through without the usual dialogue, without the usual checking. And meanwhile, the legislative arm is meant to actually question everything that comes on its table. So that is why the question is being asked, is it necessary, though, for the legislature to have to consult with the executive in terms of having to have more alliance either with party representation or regional? That is it.
Don't forget, until they are sworn in, they are not yet members of the legislature. They have not been sworn on oaths. As anybody who has won an election as a senator or House of Reps elect is not yet a member of the House until he's sworn into the House. And when he's sworn into the House, there are rules and regulations guiding him. So for now, what they are doing is that he's a full-time party member. He's ascribing to the party ethos. He's going to lobby his party to make me the one that you want to lead the House. And in leading the House, I've never seen anywhere in the world where bills come to the House, maybe from the executive or wherever, and the bills is decided by only the Senate President or the House of Representatives Speaker. We watch, even though we are not members of the National Assembly, we watch their proceedings on TV, where the House, devolves, some matters to committees. And those committees are not people by members of a single political party. The committees are people by members of the various parties who are in the House. And the beauty of the last election is that the House today tomorrow, will be made up of a rainbow of parties. We have the APC, we have the LP, we have the ABGA, we have the YPP, NNPP, So that's to show you the credibility of the election.
But why do they need to go to the executive to first get approval before they can become Speaker and Senate President?
They are not going for approval.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is that they are lobbying. That is the standard norm in democracy. Even people who want to become ministers or commissioners, special advisors or what, everybody is running around like, look, this is what I contributed to the party. This is where I want to be. It does not mean that at the end of the day, my own personal desire will be met. Some person's desire will be met, some will be disappointed. So that is the beauty of democracy, that it is not about somebody sitting down somewhere and by fiat, anoint or appoint.
What if some persons do not go lobby? What if they feel like, I have the expertise, I have the experience, I have the number of years, my region is meant to be the one that, is considered, but I'm not going to go lobby with the president-elect. I'm throwing my hat in the ring and I don't have to go through all of that lobbying process. What then?
Well, good luck to such person. But I know that is not in tandem with democracy. And I'm very sure whoever is doing that will get his result at the end of the day. Because the tussle for power is not something you sit down in your house and assume will be given to you a la carte. You struggle for it. You talk to people.
But shouldn't they consult more amongst their, fellow representative elect, that is House of Representatives elect, rather than having to consult with the president elect?
Oh, absolutely. There is, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Before you become members of the National Assembly, before you are sworn in, you are inaugurated, you talk to people outside. Mm-hmm. When you get into the House, you talk to your members. Even right now, how are you sure that some of the so-called aspirants jostling for the principal position office in the National Assembly, how are you even sure they are not already talking to?
But the question is, why is the focus more on President-elect Bola?
Because he's the man in the eye of the picture.
I know he's the man in the eye of the picture. Well, why? There's this over-reliance on what he would approve of, on what he would accept, on what he would take on. Why should it be solely on him?
No.
Because if we say we're operating a democratic system of government, you already understand what your capacity is, what you can do, how you intend to protect yourself and your constituency. Why that reliance on President-elect's approval? Why that particular necessity?
I disagree with the use of the word approval.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, if that's you.
Yes, that's my opinion now. I'm the one speaking.
You're disagreeing with the fact that it's
with the use of the word approval. Yes.
Okay.
With your use of the word approval. So for me. If any serious candidate, aspirant, not candidate, for the principal position in the House is not talking to the president-elect, knowing fully well the influence he will wield within the party, then that person is not a serious aspirant.
So how does this now differ from parliamentary democracy?
In parliamentary democracy, even the whoever becomes the prime minister is a member of the house.
Is a member of the house.
Is a member of the parliament. Is elected. Yes.
Elected as member of the
as member of the parliament.
On the dominant
the party with the majority. Yes. Is in a parliamentary system. What normally happens is that the leader of government business, who becomes the prime minister, is a member of the house. It's just like
with a greater representative.
Yes, the party with the greater representative will now elect him as the prime minister. We the citizens are not going there to vote on presidential election. We are only going to vote for parliamentary elections. And at the end of the parliamentary elections, cabinets are formed from members of the parliament.
So the question now is, with what you have just described, how does what we practice differ from the parliamentary system of government?
How it differs is that the presidential system of government demarcates clearly the executive and the legislature.
In this particular instance, are we seeing that clear demarcation?
No, we are not running a parliamentary. We are running a presidential. Yes, there's.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Now, why? That is again. I bring you back to the question I've been asking you all this while. If there is a clear demarcation, why does it have to be a necessity whereby you need to meet the executive, you need to meet the president-elect, you need to lobby him, to seek his support, to seek sort of his approval, for him to bless or anoint your hand, if there is a clear demarcation between the executive and the legislation?
Again, let us get it very clear. In a presidential system of government, the president is elected as an executive member. He's not a member of the parliament. In a parliamentary system of government, whoever becomes the head of the executive is also an elected member of parliament. That is the difference.
Okay.
The president is elected as a president, as an executive. He's not a member of parliament. But in a parliamentary system of government, the prime minister, whom we can look at with the lens of a president, is also an elected legislature.
All right.
Yes. So in this case, what is happening is in tandem with the spirit of democracy, which is about people lobbying.
But sorry to cut you. The APC president, the president-elect is from the APC.
APC, yeah.
Majority of the legislatures, APC.
Yeah.
And you say the executive is completely demarcated from the legislature.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like, okay, if the president-elect is a different arm, the legislature is a different arm, but the president-elect is from the majority of the party in the House. Yeah. And then in order for the speakership position and the Senate president position to be, eventually fulfilled, there needs to be a procedure whereby the executive, which is the president, who is meant to be on his own, needs to be sought after, needs to be lobbied, there needs to be a sort of approval from him. That's what I'm asking you. I said, then it means that there is really no difference of what we operate from the parliamentary system.
No, absolutely, there's difference. No, I've just made the clear demarcation. In the presidential, the president is not a member of the legislature.
Okay.
In the parliamentary, the president or the prime minister is a member of the legislature. Okay. So what we are saying here is that the president, because he's not a member of the legislature, don't forget, for you to be elected a president, it means you wield tremendous influence. You have a lot of goodwill from members of the party. There are some persons that, if you talk to the president, you cannot reach them. It is the president who will speak on your behalf. And don't forget, you recognize that when the APC was having its, I think after the primaries, the governor of Kaduna State said when it came to choosing who would succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, that the governors of his party went to him, that Mr. President, as the father of the nation, please tell us your preferred candidate and we'll kowtow to you. as a sign of respect.
All right.
It's
Thank you.
natural.
Thank you, Nelson Okujimi, for coming on to VOP this morning. All right. We actually do appreciate your coming in. Thank you so much. Now, however, coming up next is this. Aishatu Dahiru, also known as Binani, who was the governorship candidate of the APC in the just concluded general elections, has withdrawn her case in court. What are the whys and the wherefores? Details in a moment.
Road signs are defined as symbolized illustrative guidance for road users for safer and more convenient traveling. If you drive a car, ride a bike, or walk, you must obey all the road signs in Nigeria. Now these are regulatory road signs and they are mandatory. The one-way traffic sign. The one-way traffic sign is a regulatory sign. Drivers encountering a one-way sign must travel in the direction that the sign is pointing. One-way signs designate the direction in which traffic is traveling. Drivers must not travel in the opposite direction of the one-way sign due to the risk of a head-on collision. This sign points to an emergency diversion route that guides traffic around the closed section, bringing it back onto the same road further along its length. This speaks for itself. It's the end diversion. This sign informs the road user of the end of the emergency diversion route. This is the roundabout sign. This sign advises that you are approaching a roundabout, so drive slowly as you approach. The compulsory cycle track sign. This sign indicates the route cyclists must take. Cycle lane road signs are essential to cyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. This divided two lanes, two-way ahead sign. This sign indicates that two traffic lanes are separated ahead. Two lanes, two-way ahead sign. This sign indicates that two traffic lanes are not separated ahead. Four lanes, undivided two-way ahead. This sign informs the road user that there are four lanes undivided for both directions of traffic. Divided four lanes, two-way ahead. This sign informs the road user that four lanes are divided for both traffic directions. The speed limit minimum sign. This sign informs the road user of the minimum speed limit required in an area, and so drive carefully. This announcement is coming to you from Voice of the People, VOP Television. Now,
Welcome back. Now, the All Progressives Congress candidate in the Adamawa governorship elections, Aisha Dahiru, popularly called Binani, on Wednesday, withdrew the suit filed against the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. It was reported that the APC candidate had asked the court for a judicial review of the decision by INEC to reverse her earlier announcement as winner of the poll by the state's resident electoral commissioner, Hudu Yunusa Ari. Binani's counsel, Mohammed Sharif, upon resumed hearing in the matter, told Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, that a notice of discontinuance had been filed to that effect and urged this court to strike out the case. Now, Justice Ekwo reminded Mr. Sharif that an order was given on the last adjourned date, directing him to address the court on whether the court had the jurisdiction to entertain the case or not. The lawyer, who informed the court that a lot of issues had come up between the last date of adjournment and today, begged for an order striking out the suit. Now, in order for us to delve deeper into this segment of the conversation, we have joining us virtually on VOP this morning, Evans Ufeli. Evans, good morning and welcome to VOP this morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Now, Evans is a legal practitioner and he is also a political enthusiast, a social commentator as well. Evans, we do know the fallout of the supplementary elections in Adamawa State and what transpired. Now, eventually, when that happened, Binani wrote to the court and said, INEC has no right to return the statement, or rather retracts the statement or declaration that was made by Hudu Yunusa Ari. And of course, the court was able to turn that down. However, Binani has, been able to retract her suit against INEC and, of course, against Pintiri. What's your take on that?
If you look at that case carefully, you'll find out that there's a lot of issues going against that case in question. First, declared her the winner. Now, the foundation of the case is therefore faulty. How be it that INEC staff did that and they did that wrongly? So that is where the case started having problem. And by the time they eventually filed a review, another problem cropped up. And that is the problem of jurisdiction. Under the law, the Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction post-election matters. Okay, because the assumption is that she was declared the winner. So whatever action you are taking thereby, presumably, is post-election, because assume that the election have been concluded in that regard. Okay, so the issues, that is why the judge didn't jump into preemptive suit. He asked the counsel to go and file an address to address the court on jurisdiction, whether or not the Federal High Court has jurisdiction in a situation where INEC have made a declaration, okay, and had also turned around and made the same declaration invalid. A situation where the person who ought to declare a winner, the returning officer, didn't do it. The INEC rep of that state that did that, so it was a lot of complications. And I think the reason they withdrew that suit maybe because of all these multiple legal issues that prop up within the process.
But why would Binani in the first instance, all right, why would she actually write to the Federal High Court to stop the Independent National Electoral Commission from announcing any other result of the governorship poll in the state, considering how that announcement was made? Results were not yet completely collated when Hudu Yunusa Ari came and declared that, the APC governorship candidate, that is in person of Binani, is the winner when results had not yet been concluded. Also, at the estimated time, he came in earlier than the time that was estimated. Everyone would think that any individual who understands procedure, who understands processing, would question why that actually took place. But rather, she immediately went, accepted that declaration by Hudu Yunusa Ari, gave a press conference whereby she accepted it, and then all of a sudden you're writing to the court to stop INEC from declaring any other result when you already saw the process through which that announcement was made. What does that actually say about Binani herself? Wasn't she sure of what was going on? Didn't she know what transpired before she filed that to the Federal High Court?
No, before she went to court, because part of her prayers was that the federal declare any other person the winner. She has already been declared the winner. Okay, she has already been declared the winner, and then INEC turned around and press statement to invalidate that victory, or that victory in quotes. So when she finally went to court to ask for jurisdiction, she was of the view that the court, one of the prayers or an order of certiorari prohibiting from declaring any other person the winner. That is to say that they want the court to look into what has transpired and make a judicial review to that effect. Okay, it was not like the result was declared, she was declared winner, and then the next day she wrote a letter and said, I should not declare. No, that's not what happened.
No,
what happened was that
I'm saying that looking at the process through which she was announced, she saw what was transpiring. She saw that all the results had not yet been collated. All right, results were still coming in. And the way Hudu Yunusa Ari came and made the announcement, a lot of persons were already questioning things. So you now accepting it and eventually writing to the Federal High Court that INEC should not declare when the process had not been completed. That's what I'm saying. Understanding the premise or the process through which she was announced as the governor-elect of Adamawa State, when results had not yet been completely collated. And then you now write into when INEC saw what actually transpired and said, okay, it is not according to the Electoral Act. It is not according to our procedures. We consider this wrong and we're not part of this. She now went to write to the Federal High Court by saying that INEC should not declare anyone, all right, a winner, or should not call any other result aside from the one that had declared her by the resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State as the governor. So was she supposed to even file in the first instance? That's the question, considering the premise with which the announcement was made.
To look at issues objectively.
Okay.
She's not the empire, she's not INEC. INEC came out and declared her. Okay, whether I don't know what transpired, whether INEC official took gratification or not, they are still investigating that. Okay, whether she gave gratification or whatsoever that made the INEC rep to usurp the authority of the returning officer and want to do what he did. That is by the wayside. But the issue in question here is that if INEC had declared her the winner, whichever way through which she was declared the winner, INEC shouldn't have turned because INEC would have usurped the authority of the tribunal if he did that, which actually prevent or to protect that declaration that was made. How be it that the declaration was made by the wrong person, was made under a wrong circumstance, was even made when election had not been concluded. How be it all those irregularities. The fact is that INEC still declared her the winner. Okay? She's not part of INEC. So, but I'm glad they have withdrawn the suit because it's actually a case that was going nowhere. Going nowhere in the sense that the jurisdictional bar was there. Okay, really against that case. Then the issue of local standard. I mean, the INEC rep doesn't have the local standard to declare that election. That it is a case that that is being put on nothing. And in USC versus Mark, then it said that in law is a nullity. As you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand, it collapse.
Governor-elect was legal at the time he made that, because you're saying we should try to just look at things logically, whereby what her prayer was in the first instance is that the rec committing that infraction was still a representative of INEC. So it means that constitutionally, INEC had announced her as the winner. So thereby, they shouldn't upturn whatever announcement that had been made by the representative in Adamawa State. Is that what you're saying?
Of INEC to be the rep of that state. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now, the problem is that the declaration came from the rec who had usurped the authority of the returning officer, which was wrong. Okay? But you cannot say it was not INEC that declared her winner. It was INEC that did that. Did she declare herself? She did not declare herself. We saw the video of INEC rec declaring her the winner. How be that election has not been concluded? Okay, so is she supposed to turn down her own victory emanating from the umpire? She's supposed to protect it. That's what any reasonable person would do. So now that she has seen that there's no way, because first, election has not been concluded, the person who declared is the wrong person, okay? And the issue of jurisdiction, to even hear the case at the Federal High Court, was also a patent error, okay? That is why she couldn't move further. If that result had been declared by the returning officer, how be it that result have not been concluded and whatsoever, she would have continued that case, because in the eyes of the law, the person who declared ought to be the one to declare. So the court will go further to make a declaration whether the returning officer have a right to do so in the circumstance he did. The biggest problem in the case was that the person who made the declaration didn't have the authority to do that under the law. I mean, and that is why the whole case went into abeyance. If it was declared by the rec itself, she would move further with her case and let the court decide. Okay. All
right, but on April 25th, she filed a notice of discontinuance. Do you think through her legal counsel, Hussaini Zakaria? Now, do you think that advice was from her legal counsel? Do you think Binani still felt that she had the moral standing to protect the announcement of, of Hudu?
No, I think the best thing the lawyers did, of this application for discontinuance, is a very common thing in legal practice. Okay. Parties may come together and begin to have certain talks and agreements, and they may decide to just go and file a notice to discontinue the case, and then go indoors and talk things over. Sometimes they can even talk things over before they send the lawyers to go and file to discontinue. In this circumstance, we don't know the details. Parties may have reconciled. They may have done. The party must have waded in, okay, and then the political party itself. You see, there's a lot of consultation in politics and negotiations. Okay, they may have resolved this in one way or the other and asked that they go and withdraw the suit. So it's a common practice in law, and it's allowed under our laws. There are different ways of going about it. You can also come to court to tell the court that parties have settled. The court will now ask that you go and bring terms of settlement, that you write the terms of settlement, and then bring it before the court. And the court will look at it and endorse it as consent judgment in the case. It's not every case that the court will make a pronouncement, take evidence, and do all that. Most times, if we have 10 cases, sometimes 5 out of the 10 will go under settlement. Because what the court is after is to resolve disputes. And if parties are willing to resolve their dispute, the court will not waste taxpayers' money to hear evidence, to call witnesses and all that, and continue laboriously on it is set to give judgment. No. The court will even encourage parties to go and talk. There are cases where the court will call parties, go and settle this matter and come and report to the court. So the court will adjourn for a report of a settlement. And if they are able to settle, the court will endorse whatever they have settled. But if they are not able to settle, then whatever is left will be set down.
But do you think this was rather more, politically inclined?
They must have reached a political solution in the matter under reference. You know that the whole structure is that when politicians get together, it is the bystander that see it from black and white. APC, PDP, CPC, and all that. We see it from that preference because we are bystanders. But the politicians themselves, they do a lot of negotiation, a lot of lobbying, even in the assembly. Okay, you find sometimes you find a bill sponsored by a particular political party, and you find that political party lobbying others, okay, to join them to vote so that they can get a chance to have the bill pass. It happens like that. They do a lot of lobbying across party lines. It's a process politically. So this may have been what happened. Sometimes it could just be that the political party may just decide on their own volition. Let's just go and withdraw the suit, okay? Because in most cases, when you withdraw suit voluntarily, the other party will ask for cost, okay? When you didn't involve the other party, you just withdraw. The other party will ask for cost. If you notice in this case, the other party did not ask for cost.
Okay.
Possibly they may have been together in working this through to get the case out of court.
But if we look at how the entire situation occurred and what transpired thereafter, Binani, do you think if she was not advised, may have stayed on the fact that INEC already declared her the governor-elect of Adamawa State? Do you think she had a strong case if she had not retracted the suit, if she had decided to continue with that?
She once had a case until jurisdiction set in. Okay, because if she's convinced that she will, okay, and she then INEC later turned it around, she would have proceeded to the tribunal and not the Federal High Court, because the High Court does not have jurisdiction, okay, post-election, except the election has not been conducted. When election has not been conducted, maybe after primaries and all that, the outcome of primaries can be subjected to litigation at the Federal High Court, because that's where the Federal, okay, anything pre-election, the general election must be handled by the Federal High Court. That's the jurisdictional issue. But once election has been conducted and a winner has been declared, any other thing you want to do, you must go to the tribunal. And that is why in her prayers, she told the court that the INEC usurped the authority of the tribunal. That it is the tribunal, only the tribunal, that could have declared her a winner or the loser, whichever party, okay? But even though she argued that in her case, also surprised to see that she also went to the Federal High Court, okay? She went to the Federal High Court to ventilate herself, whereas she ought to have gone to the tribunal, which she said that INEC usurped the authority of the tribunal. Okay, so it's like speaking from of the mouth. So if at all she needed to fight or discontinuance anything or uphold her standing that she's a duly elected governor-elect of Adamawa State, it should have gone through the tribunal and not through the Federal High Court. Yes, she should have gone through the tribunal because it has now become a post-election matter. But I also know the reason she didn't go to the tribunal. I also know the reason she didn't go to the tribunal, because when you go to the tribunal, you are going to file a petition. Okay. You are going to file a petition to say that INEC did not follow the substantial non-compliance to the Electoral Act, and that the substantial non-compliance has affected the outcome. Okay. But when you are talking about judicial review, when you want a court to interpret a certain section of the law, okay, you cannot come by petition. You cannot come by petition. So you are going to come by originating summon. And then summon is what you can easily bring before the Federal High Court. Okay? That is the legal issues.
What do you make of the awkwardness of the purported winner going to court and not the loser?
No, her victory, in quotes, was invalidated by the umpire, by INEC. Okay? So you cannot call her the winner because the authority who declared her the winner after a day turned around and invalidated victory. You understand? So there is, in that case, there is a legal injury. Okay? And when there's a legal injury, when there are grievances, you have to resort to the court. Okay? But it's not enough to go to court. You must know the right court to go to. okay, to ventilate this. So, and being a post-election matter, they ought to have gone to the tribunal. That is what they are supposed to do. But they went to the Federal High Court, and by the nature of that case, what they intend to do is an order of mandamus and order of certiorari. These are equitable remedies that can only be brought, okay, through, that originating summon, and cannot be brought through petition. Whereas the tribunal is supposed to hear electoral petition. Okay, you can see there.
Their 13th wedding anniversary, a significant milestone in their journey of love and companionship. I told you I like to see, or I like to read when I hear that people who are always in our eyes, anything they do sets tongues wagging. But then when it comes to the relationship, it's a beautiful one that a lot of persons want to see and celebrate. So it's a good one to actually hear and to actually see too. The couple who tied the knot in 2010 took to their respective social media accounts to express their joy and gratitude as they marked their special occasion. Casey, whose real name is Kingsley Chinwike Okonkwo, is a popular Nigerian musician known for his hit songs and energetic performances. He rose to prominence as a member of the music duo Casey Presh. I don't know if you can recall those music duos way back. They've been very close then, before embarking on a successful solo career. Casey is known for his unique style and versatility, blending various genres of music to create his own signature sound. Meanwhile, the wife, Ijoma Okonkwo, on the other hand, is known for her creative brand and subtle presence in the media. So you see, it's a blend of beautiful elements, two beautiful individuals becoming one. Casey, a musician, a well-known individual, a well-known celebrity, and she too, in a subtle way, is well-known, possibly because of her affiliation with her husband. But the good news is that, all right, they are celebrating their 13th wedding anniversary. And if we've known what's been going on in the space of celebrating her bitter experience with power outages in South Africa, she said, any small thing, then go take like 4 hours, 6 hours, they go tell you, say, nah, then go, they will take intervals. Then go, they send you power supply comes up. So she was like, what is this? What did I get myself into? What is this experience I'm experiencing? That's a nice one to see that we are not only going through the hurdle we are going through in this part of the country. So most revered countries that we usually look through via the phone or whatever, him in connection with the death of his wife, Bimbo Ogbonna. And she took to her Instagram page on Wednesday to reveal his relationship status, or rather, she took to her Instagram page on Wednesday to reveal her relationship status. She said,